Good afternoon. I am Rodolfo Taccani. I am Prorector for the Technology Transfer. I give you a warm welcome to this afternoon for this first experience of a dual lecture in the Transform for Europe project. I'm quite excited. It's a very important moment. This project is for our university, and I presume for all the university partners, a very important project. Today we have here in presence Mr. Jaroslav Gruzu and Mr. Lucio Sabatini, and later on my colleague Alessandro Pavan will join us to moderate this seminar. So the topic today is one of the most, let's say, hot, and it is regarding sustainability and digitalization. Our region and our university is on the front line on this theme, and we are in these days working on the institution of a cross-border hydrogen valley, and this is the context exactly of sustainability and energy transition. So it is. I know that it is a very nice weather afternoon today, and I thank you very much, those of you that are in presence, and I welcome all of you that are on a remote connection. So I give the floor now to Professor Alessandro Pavan. Please, Alessandro.
Thank you very much, Rodolfo, and welcome to everybody. And, my name is Alessandro Massi Pavan. I'm here on behalf of the University of Trieste, where I coordinate the Center for Energy, Environment, and Transport, Giacomo Ciamician. So tonight, this evening, we invited two speakers, one from academia, Professor Grozu, from the Silesia University in Katowice, from Poland, and Dr. Sabadini, who is an industrial professional from Fincantieri. So they will speak about the new challenges that energy is facing today, having in mind the three pillars of the Transform for Europe project, which are the digital transformation and smart regions. The second one is environmental transformation and sustainability. And the third one is societal transformation, community building, and inclusion. So first of all, I would like to say that as already Richard Smalley stated in the past, we cannot consider one of these pillars without considering the other two, because these three pillars are very much interconnected. But before starting this event, I would like to tell you a little bit about the format of the event. I'm going to ask three questions to our guests and let them both answer. And after this, there will be space for other questions from the audience. So let's start with the first question. The first question is related with digitalization. And I will start with you, Professor Grozu. And according to the World Energy Council, digitalization is considered today of great impact, especially in the energy sector. So from your experience, what are your thoughts about this?
So first of all, thank you very much for organizing this very nice lecture and inviting me to talk here. I'm very, very glad to be here in this very nice city of Trieste. I think it's a very important question, and it is worth mentioning that among the main pillars which are considered as milestones, different transformations, the digital one is truly all-pervading. So in other words, I mean, this is the transformation which goes through all other transformative processes, right? So it's sometimes very difficult actually to distinguish between different transformations. I think there are maybe like two big blocks of digital transformation which can be highlighted. One is the improvement of the efficiency of already existing technologies, and another big block is when digitalization really enables a new breakthrough technology. So I think the improvement of efficiency of existing technology is going pretty well. I mean, I think we can see that it is penetrating in all sorts of industries. Some reports say that within the last 5 years, from 2017 to 2022, the digitalizations of overall industry, so very broad statistics, grown from around 40% to 65 and 70% in Europe and in US respectively. So, and those are great numbers because this includes actually small companies where digitalization is not necessarily obvious way to invest money. So it looks like it's going into the right direction. Now, regarding the second block, enabling new technology, I think in some sectors we can clearly see that. So for example, communication, I mean, social media, finances, this is where we can clearly, all of us can see that digitalization permitted something which was not even possible before. But regarding energy sector, I think it's not that obvious all the time. For example, we can clearly see how the Internet of Things are helping to develop smart grids, for example. Okay, that is something which is quite obvious and looks nice, and now new interesting projects and papers appear how to adapt the blockchain, for example, to further make this sector more transparent and secure. And when we speak about some new methods of energy harvesting or energy production, that is not always the case, in my opinion. So, for example, I give an example in which I spent some time working, which is concentrated solar power. So, concentrated solar power is the technology where it's a very simple technology. We just take a bunch of mirrors, we concentrate the sunlight into the heat transfer fluid, and then we use this heat to convert it into electricity using classical power cycles. And around 2010, 2011, there was a huge interest in developing this technology. It was at that time, it was kind of considered that it could really be a competitor, an alternative to photovoltaics. And there was a lot of interest there. I participated in several European projects dedicated to this topic. And there was a lot of initiative from European Union. We worked at different TRLs, so started working on material side and making prototypes, then larger field prototypes. In the end, I was able even to commercialize 1 megawatt electric pilot power plant. So the story was great. But every time in these projects, we never actually considered digitalization there. So all the time, the main goal of the project was, okay, show us that this concept works. Like industry asked us the interest was to show that it really works, that the technology is doable, and those tasks were good enough for the European Commission also to give us projects. And then when we arrived to 2022, we clearly see that photovoltaics won quite strongly compared to concentrated solar power in terms of levelized cost of electricity production. But where is this comparison coming from? It is actually coming from those power plants which we built and developed without any digitalization at all. And now I can see a lot of my colleagues, they developed within smaller projects some initiatives to improve the efficiency of concentrated solar power plants by applying digitalization there. For example, I don't know, using drones with proper neural networks, which allows to scan the field in terms of defects and the alignment of solar collectors. And those things can reduce the costs of personal costs like orders of magnitude. But for the moment, the window of opportunity looks like lost, because now to prove that let's invest money in digitalization of CSP is very complicated. Why not to invest it in photovoltaics? And the arguments that maybe the digitalization would actually give more opportunities for concentrated solar power is difficult. I mean, it looks like the window of opportunity is lost. It's not impossible, but complicated. So in my opinion, like to summarize, the message which I would like to say is that perhaps when we are developing some technology, we should start considering digitalization from low technology readiness level in the projects, not late, because then at higher TRLs, when we arrive to 7, 8, 9, it may be too late to apply it. So that's my message.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Grosu. And so this was the perspective from academia, and now we will have a different perspective, which is the one from the industry. And I'm going to ask the same question to Dr. Sabadini. He will answer in Italian. We have a mixture event today. We will answer in both languages. So, Ingegnere Sabadini, anche per lei la stessa domanda. Qual è il ruolo, secondo lei, della digitalizzazione nello sviluppo dell'energia in questo periodo, del settore energetico?
Allora, io do una risposta più personale che aziendale, tanto per chiarezza. Allora, secondo me dobbiamo partire, e do una risposta di livello diverso da quello del professore, da un punto di prospettiva diverso. Allora, secondo me dobbiamo partire dal presupposto che la digitalizzazione, le tecnologie digitali sono uno strumento. Quindi è importante lo strumento, ma è ancora più importante il fine per cui si usa lo strumento. In termini di potenzialità è uno strumento potentissimo, è uno strumento soprattutto potente quando ci troviamo di fronte a sistemi complessi il cui efficientamento è controintuitivo. Nel campo delle navi, che è il campo, diciamo, in cui lavoro, ottimizzare una rete energetica e il sistema energetico della nave non è intuitivo, totalmente fuori della portata della razionalizzazione della singola persona. E quindi la digitalizzazione permette di introdurre degli strumenti che effettivamente portano un grosso livello di efficienza. Insomma, considerate, per chi non sa, una nave concentra in uno spazio, diciamo in uno spazio di un grande edificio, quella che è una rete elettrica che a livello terrestre è la rete di una provincia, concentrata in uno spazio microscopico in proporzione. Quindi, e con le discontinuità tipiche di una vita sociale, oltre a tutte le problematiche dell'energia per il trasporto. Quindi, in questo senso, dovunque ci si affronta dei problemi controintuitivi o molto complessi, la digitalizzazione è uno strumento potentissimo e il settore energetico è sicuramente uno di questi campi. In generale, se vogliamo un po' astrarre, non è così scontato che la digitalizzazione porti efficienza. No? Un esempio ce l'abbiamo nei social network, ecco. Ma anche banalmente pensando al web, no? Non è che l'accesso distribuito abbia portato efficienza nel reperire le informazioni, perché in realtà per reperire le informazioni dobbiamo fare una fatica enorme per togliere tutta quella che è detto in triestino romenta. Cioè, sono diciamo perdita di informazione. Quindi secondo me va benissimo la digitalizzazione, però bisogna sempre capire qual è il fine a cui applicarla e verificare che il fine poi sia mantenuto.
Yes, I'm going to shortly translate what Dr. Sabadini was saying. He was saying he has big experience in the design of vessels, big vessels, as he works for Fincantieri, and he said that inside these big boats there is an electrical system which is like a system we have in a small municipality, so it's very, very complicated. And for such type of systems, it's very important, digitalization, because for our mind, it's not easy to understand how to control such a complex system. And so for a really complex system as the energy systems are on boats, but also, of course, on Earth, digitalization is very important and it's very efficient. But he also says that for other fields, different than the energy systems, we have to pay attention. He mentioned, for example, social media. And he said that for this type of examples, sometimes the digitalization is not so efficient. So we have to really have a look where we apply digitalization. This was, in short, what Dr. Sabini was saying. Is this all, or you have a?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's move to the second question, which is So the second question is related, is about the relation between the transformation of the society and the energy sector. And for this, I would like to start from what history taught us. At the beginning of the 19th century, coal, which is the first representative of the centralized energy model, paved the way for a society where everybody can benefit from a big availability of energy. And today we have renewables, and renewables are based on a different model, which is distributed rather than centralized. So do you think that this new model will bring as much as coal brought us in the past, having in mind, for example, that not everybody can install a photovoltaic plant on their rooftop? What is your opinion on this, Professor Grosu?
So I think it's a great question because it sort of allows very broad perspective on the question. And so the short answer, I think no. So I don't think it's going to give the same, it will be the same societal effect transition to renewables. But the benefits could be completely different. So when the transition to coal, I think the main benefit which everybody felt in short term while adopting this technology is the amount of the available energy. So essentially, each person, each company, each industrial sector, while adopting this technology, immediately felt that they have more energy. And this had a very short-term effect. So it means that there was a very clear market interest, personal interest in this technology. When we speak about renewable transition, we're not really trying to increase the energy per square kilometer or per person or per industry, right? So we are thinking more about the future. We are thinking about the planet, about sustainability, and about how we as a civilization essentially would be living in a long-term run. So normally, these long-term or medium-term benefits, they are typically driven by policies, by governments generally. And there are some social studies that show that essentially people on the personal level, they start to care about environmental issues only after a certain level of income, which kind of makes sense, right? So if the person is really on the poor side and struggling to live day by day, the environmental issues would not be in the first in the list, right? So in order for this technology to really happen, I think we have to some extent three main big strategies. One is the policy, so the countries, governments should invest into that. The second one is more market-driven. One is that the use of renewables should be more attractive as a product. That would, if we reach this point, I think it would just happen naturally. But the third one is general level of life and safety of each individual. So if we reach this level, I think more people would be willing to even compromise or invest on the personal level into something which is more sustainable. So I think this is the three main directions which are there. And I think if you would ask me this question maybe 5 months ago, I would just stop there. So that would be kind of enough. But for the moment, I think we can consider the decentralized model very beneficial in a bit different term, which is safety. So now, for more than 5 months, we have in Europe war, which is the largest one from Second World War. I'm speaking about the war in Ukraine, obviously. And having decentralized energy sector has a huge benefit in terms of safety. And I'm speaking about very different levels, on the level of European Union, on the level of the country, on the level of region, of household or an individual. This certainly adds to this benefit. Now, how the countries are going to react to this, we will see. So I'm sure that some of them would probably go into the direction of reinventing, readapting the old technologies, the classical ones. I hope that some of them would look into more initiatives into diffusion of renewable technologies exactly in this sense. So, like, Also, this situation is going to affect other aspects which I just mentioned. I mean, the market competitiveness. I mean, in many European countries, we see how the gas bills are going up so much. So in this case, maybe adopting a solar panel on the roof may become suddenly much more attractive. Now, typically in European initiatives like the one which we are participating now, there is certain inertia, right? So these problems which I'm talking about now, they are not in the agenda of the current projects, but they will be, I'm sure, in one way or another. So we as academia and as industry, I think we have to be prepared that there will be new calls, new challenges, and how we are going to address this dramatic event which we are happening, I think may define whether we are going to have some drawback to the classical technologies, or there is an opportunity actually for renewables to be implemented on the broader scale and contribute not only to environmental and sustainability aspects, but also to safety of the energy sectors.
Thank you very much. Bene, quindi la stessa domanda per l'ingegnere Sabadini, la ripeterò in italiano anche a beneficio del nostro pubblico. La domanda riguarda quello che è il legame fra il settore energetico e la trasformazione della nostra società. Abbiamo visto come nella nostra storia all'inizio del Novecento il carbone, che è un po' il modello, no? di questo settore energetico centralizzato, poi sostituito dal petrolio, dal gas, ha portato molta energia a tutti quanti, no? Sia agli individui che alle società, quindi ha portato, come dire, della ricchezza. E adesso stiamo introducendo un nuovo modello, che è il modello invece delle energie rinnovabili. Le energie rinnovabili non sono centralizzate, ma sono distribuite. E questo ci chiediamo se questo nuovo modello può portare così tanto come ha portato il modello precedente, il modello centralizzato, pensando ad esempio al fatto che non tutti possono installare un impianto fotovoltaico sul tetto della propria casa. Ecco, questa è la domanda che rivolgo anche a lei, ingegnere Sabadini.
Grazie. Io ho purtroppo forse una visione un po' più articolata, perché diciamo, l'arrivo del carbone a metà del XIX secolo in realtà ha sicuramente messo in crisi un sistema globale precedente, ma ha anche portato un secolo di guerre. Non dobbiamo dimenticarcelo, non ha portato soltanto benefici, ha portato una trasformazione del sistema mondiale che si è assestata dopo un secolo di guerre. E c'è stata anche una trasformazione sociale, per carità, assolutamente sì. Poi bisogna capire quanto conseguente alle guerre, quanto conseguente alla disponibilità di energia per quasi tutti, perché quando parliamo di tutti ci limitiamo al nostro sistema occidentale, ma a livello globale non è così. Quindi questo secondo me va tenuto presente, così come va tenuto presente che le energie rinnovabili sono molto facilmente diffusibili, forse più ancora che diciamo, il sistema legato allora al carbone e poi al petrolio, ma sono basate su delle risorse naturali che stanno a monte, enabling, che non sono per niente distribuite, ma sono molto più concentrate rispetto alle risorse naturali che stanno alla base dell'economia del petrolio. No? Parliamo delle terre rare o cose di questo genere, no? Per cui è vero che in teoria le energie rinnovabili possono essere prodotte ovunque, ma non è vero che le tecnologie per le energie rinnovabili, quindi gli impianti per le energie rinnovabili, sono basati su materiali che sono disponibili ovunque. Quindi forse la situazione da un punto di vista di equilibri mondiali sarà ancora più basata su dei monopolismi che non su una distribuzione omogenea di potenzialità. E terzo argomento, secondo me assolutamente importante, premesso che sono convinto che le energie rinnovabili siano un must in questo momento diciamo di crisi ambientale e di prospettive di estremizzazione delle crisi ambientali, quindi non sto dicendo che non servono energie rinnovabili. Dico che sì, porteranno un cambiamento sociale, ahimè, anche la guerra in atto è collegata ai cambiamenti di potenza economica, almeno in prospettiva, che stanno emergendo, dovuti non tanto alle energie rinnovabili quanto più alla trasformazione digitale, ma di fatto di quello parliamo. Ultima cosa, io credo che le trasformazioni più importanti che avrà la nostra società nel medio termine, diciamo nei prossimi 50 anni, saranno piuttosto legate all'accesso all'acqua che non all'accesso all'energia.
Thank you very much. So just a short summary. Dr. Sabadini said that, of course, carbon coal has brought many benefits to our society, but many wars as well. And we have to keep in mind these. And the second thing, he said that, of course, renewables can be exploited everywhere because the sources are everywhere. Everywhere we have the wind, everywhere we have the solar radiation, but not everywhere we have these elements, these minerals that that we need to use in order to produce photovoltaic plants or wind turbines and so on, and batteries, for example. And this, of course, will be a problem for the future because we will need to understand, we will need to find a new balance in our society in order to integrate all these minerals inside of our countries. And then the last thing, he said that the most important transformation we will see in the future, medium term, maybe in the next 50 years, will be about water rather than energy. These were the three main points regarding what Dr. Sabadini was saying. Thank you very much. So we will move now to the last question, which is related to the third pillar of our project. I remember it's the Transform for Europe project. And this is the last but not least question, Professor Grosu, because now I would like to talk about, I think, the most important issue related with energy. You already touched this point, which is related with the environment, with our home, with planet Earth. So certainly, now we need to move from fossil fuels to renewables if you want to limit a little bit the impact of the climate change on our society. This is one side of the coin, but the other side of the coin is that many people seem to think that the technologies that will enable this transition will harm our environment because of these minerals. Dr. Sabadini was already mentioned them. So we will have problem with mining and with the processing of these minerals. So what do you think about this issue?
Yeah, so that's certainly a central issue for renewables. I mean, the limited dispatchability, so ability to deliver energy when it is needed, is one of the strongest weaknesses of renewables, obviously. So the sun doesn't shine whenever we need, and the wind doesn't blow when we need most of the energy. So renewables without storage is kind of a very limited use, especially if we are talking about grids which intend to use considerable percentage of these renewables in the grid. Now, considerable percentage, a lot of production of renewable energy implies a lot of storage. Now, how to do it sustainable? I mean, batteries seems like not an answer, at least today. So we all know the problems with lithium we have, so producing these huge batteries is maybe, I'm not sure that it's feasible, but certainly not environmentally friendly, for sure. Are there any solutions at large scale which can be more environmentally friendly? Yes, I think so. On large scale, we have thermal energy storage and we have mechanical energy storage. So those two technologies, they definitely can be quite, they can have a low environmental footprint. So I'll give you one example, for example. So, for example, Cardinal batteries technology. So Cardinal batteries technology is a very simple technology. Essentially, we have a thermal energy storage unit, which is a large vessel which can store heat. And this can be done of very simple materials like molten salts, rocks, slugs, can be used even water sometimes. So essentially very simple unit. And then when we have excess of energy or the price of the energy in the grid is very low, this thermal energy storage unit can be charged by heat, so increasing its temperature just by converting electricity into heat. So for example, with resistive heating or other classical methods. Then when the electricity is needed, this heat can be transformed into electricity using classical power cycles to compensate for the peaks of consumption. Now, from the first glance, I think sounds like a terrible idea, right? So we are converting energy twice. So first from electricity to heat, then from heat to electricity. So in terms of efficiency, yes, that's not the best. And in fact, this is the main weakness of this technology, where around efficiency can be between 40 and 70%, so pretty low. However, if we consider the overall picture, so if we consider that at certain grids, the price of electricity can even become negative, so when there is a really excess of it, and then during the peak consumption it is really skyrocketing, it starts to make sense. So it can be a feasible technology. So there are a lot of initiatives in Germany, for example, now to try out this technology, in fact, by transforming coal power plants into storage power plants. So essentially transforming through the power plants which use coal into thermal energy storage unit, which converts this energy. There are also some interesting projects on the level of Europe, I think, which demonstrate that the level of the households of residential large buildings, for example, the energy can be also stored in the form of heat, especially if we consider methods which permits higher temperatures. So I think at this scale, yes, it is possible. So we can do we can have some environmental friendly solutions, and which they have additional benefits like non-use of raw materials, like these Cardinal batteries, for example. They can be installed essentially wherever needed, so they don't take so much space. And normally the time of use of this energy storage, thermal energy storage units are around 30 years, so which is quite good. And then recycling of these salts or rocks or any other storage material, in this case, is not really a problem. When it comes to lower scale, I'm not sure that we have real alternatives for the moment for batteries. So when we speak about already vehicle, phone, laptop, things like that, thermal energy storage, mechanical energy storage, they're not feasible at all. So the only way to develop in this direction is try to develop more sustainable batteries. So there are some initiatives now which are moving from lithium to sodium batteries, for example. Whether it's enough, I'm not sure, but we also have no alternative at this small scale.
Thank you very much, Professor Grosu. And so as we have more time available now, I would like to shortly translate also what you were saying, because it was really interesting. Ha detto fondamentalmente che in questa transizione le terre rare, i minerali critici sono sicuramente molto importanti, soprattutto per lo stoccaggio dell'energia, perché abbiamo queste fonti rinnovabili che sono aleatorie, sono intermittenti, e quindi l'energia va stoccata nei momenti in cui è prodotta massicciamente rispetto a quello che è il consumo. Dice che ci sono delle soluzioni per lo stoccaggio dell'energia in modo più environmentally friendly, in modo più vicino, insomma meno impattante sull'ambiente, che sono date dallo stoccaggio termico e meccanico. Soprattutto ha parlato molto dello stoccaggio termico, si può stoccare molta energia all'interno di, ad esempio, sali, all'interno dell'acqua, all'interno delle rocce, e ha menzionato il fatto che uno dei problemi legati a queste tecnologie è l'efficienza sull'intero ciclo, che sono molto basse, attorno al 40-60%, però dice che queste tecnologie possono essere utilizzate quando il prezzo dell'elettricità diventa negativo, quindi quando abbiamo talmente tanta energia elettrica che il mercato non è in grado di acquisirla e quindi il mercato paga chi riesce ad acquisirla. Questo su una scala più grande. Invece su una scala più piccola dice che le batterie sono inevitabili, per scala più piccola intende ad esempio i veicoli elettrici o i nostri telefonini, i nostri computer, e sicuramente quello che bisognerà inventarsi fra un po' è fare un po' un passaggio da quelle che sono le batterie nel nickel, che sono più impattanti da un punto di vista ambientale, le batterie ad esempio al sodio, che stiamo sviluppando proprio adesso e che forse nei prossimi 5-10 anni ci daranno una mano, però non siamo ancora sicuri di quale sarà la direzione. Ecco quindi che giro la stessa domanda a lei, ingegnere, sempre...
Sì, anche senza leggerla.
Senza tradurla, va bene.
Okay.
Prego.
Allora, sono d'accordo con il professore, ma aggiungerei due cose, secondo me importanti. Uno, se vogliamo essere, cioè se l'obiettivo è la sostenibilità ambientale, come vorrei che fosse, in realtà dovremmo cambiare il modello di approccio all'uso dell'energia, nel senso che se vogliamo veramente combattere il cambiamento climatico dobbiamo assumere dei modelli di vita che siano energy saving. E questo lo dico soprattutto a noi occidentali, perché continuiamo a non modificare il nostro modello di vita, a pensare che, non so, basta comprare l'automobile elettrica e abbiamo risolto il problema e poi continuiamo a usare un cannone per sparare alle mosche, insomma, no? Cioè continuiamo ad operare l'automobile quando basterebbe una bicicletta, detto in poche parole. E questo secondo me è fondamentale, cioè non raggiungeremo nessuna sostenibilità se non cambiamo il nostro modello di vita. E nel cambiare il nostro modello di vita c'è anche accettare che certe cose costino di più. Per cui a partire dalle miniere di terre rare, le miniere di terre rare gestite come sono gestite adesso non sono sostenibili, perché hanno un impatto ambientale a valle che non è inevitabile, è evitabile ma comporta un costo maggiore. Le tecnologie per evitare l'impatto ambientale di tante nostre attività esistono, ma significa accettare che i beni che vengono a valle siano più costosi, non meno costosi. No? Significa anche, per dire l'esempio del telefonino, di avere un telefonino che sia riparabile invece che doverlo buttare e ricominciare da capo, no? Ma questo vale per tutte le cose, no? Quindi, secondo me, assolutamente l'energia rinnovabile va nella direzione di ridurre l'impatto ambientale, ma non è sufficiente, cioè serve un cambio di modello culturale. E senza questo mi dispiace, ma non credo che andremo da nessuna parte, ecco. Non credo che raggiungeremo nulla. Forse invece di metterci 50 anni ce ne vorranno 60, ma la sostenibilità non la raggiungeremo e il clima farà quello che non siamo stati capaci di fare noi, e cioè di spegnere un livello di vita di un certo tipo, no? Quindi io sono convinto che la tecnologia sia capace di evolvere, di trovare batterie che siano meno inquinanti, eccetera, eccetera. Insomma, la mia vita, chi mi conosce, l'ho dedicata all'innovazione tecnologica, quindi ci credo nell'innovazione tecnologica, però non credo che basti. Non credo che basti. Serve un'innovazione culturale in questo momento che, ahimè, non vedo.
Thank you very much. I totally agree with you, and I start from the end. He said that he believes a lot in the technological transformation of our society, but we need to transform our society first. So there are two main points that he touched. The first one is related with the fact that we need to change our behavior. We cannot think that we have a huge amount of energy. We need to understand that energy is in a limited amount, and so we cannot waste energy. We need to understand that some tasks have to be made with less energy. For example, if I want to go to that supermarket, I don't need a car. Maybe my foot or a bicycle would do it. And so this is the first thing, to change our behavior. And the second thing is that we need to understand that if you want some technologies, as a mobile phone or a battery inside our car, this has a cost. This has a cost because of mining, has a cost because of the transformation of the processing of these materials, and we need to pay for this cost. And this is very, very important. It's not for free. And so, as I said at the beginning, as he said, we need really to change our minds and to change the way our society is approaching the environment, because if we don't do so, if we don't lower our energy needs, and if we are not able to switch off some activities that we don't need, the climate change will do. So planet Earth will react, and it will switch off our society. So thank you very much for your really, really interesting answers. And now we have time for a question from the audience. I'm sure there will be many. We have already one. And I don't know what to do with the mic. Maybe I go there, or you come here. Maybe you come here. It's easier. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. In English, in Italian, English? In English? In English. Ah. Okay. I sit. Okay, thank you. Hi. Nice to meet you. Alessandro. Nice to meet you. So, I want to start from the last answer of your question about the society has to change the way to approach the sustainability of our planet, no? So this was one point. And for example, you made this example, to go to the supermarket, we don't need a car, we can use a bicycle. Yeah, okay. So, probably we don't need the cruises. We have to stop probably produce cruises, because cruises have a very impact to our planet. And I'm a humanist, so I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure about that. So, and we don't need cruises. We don't need a car to go to the supermarket, and we don't need cruises to travel around the world. So we have to be careful about what we said, in the sense that we said, okay, we don't have to use cars, but it's okay to use cruises. So my question is, what the Fincantieri think about this? No? Che cosa la Fincantieri pensa sulle crociere? No? Bisogna cambiare il nostro comportamento per salvare il pianeta, e quindi uno dei comportamenti da cambiare è non prendere più le crociere, non produrle più, nemmeno non costruirle più. So this was my question. The question is what Fincantieri is think about it. Cruises, people taking cruises and building cruises, etc., etc. Thank you. It was a little bit not clear, maybe.
Thank you very much for your question.
Allora, premesso che io non posso rispondere per Fincantieri, anche se appartengo a Fincantieri, ma non è... io posso dire una cosa, che sicuramente è un mezzo inquinante, ma dipende a che cosa lo paragoniamo. Perché se lo paragoniamo al portare in ferie la stessa quantità di persone con gli aerei, probabilmente non è così inquinante, no? Questo non significa che il mondo delle crociere stia facendo salti mortali carpiati per ridurre l'impatto ambientale della nave, ma sia nella fase di produzione che nella fase di esercizio. Quindi il tema, secondo me, di cambiare la società è: se la società cambia, probabilmente non si faranno più neanche le navi da crociera. Non dico di no, ma è la domanda che c'è di base, no? Allora, potrei dire che c'erano studi che spiegavano, di cui non so l'attendibilità, eccetera, eccetera, che spiegavano che l'impatto ambientale di andare in vacanza in nave da crociera era minore di quello di andare in vacanza in villaggi turistici, spostandosi con gli aerei, eccetera, eccetera. Li prendo così come sono perché non sono in grado di valutarli. Il problema non è se la nave da crociera inquina, il problema è se, ma questo è un discorso delle persone, se andare in vacanza dall'altra parte del mondo è sostenibile. Questa è una cosa diversa però, è indipendente se ci vado con la nave da crociera o ci vado con l'aereo o ci vado in qualche altro modo. Cioè, nel momento in cui uno deve pensare a una società sostenibile, ma è una questione della persona, deve capire che certe cose hanno un impatto. Per quanto la tecnologia possa ridurlo, l'impatto c'è. Insomma, che l'entropia aumenta, direi che è un dato che non dobbiamo spiegarlo qui, no? Quindi, ma questo è un fattore culturale, quindi oggi c'è una domanda di crociere, c'è una domanda di navi da crociera e c'è chi le costruisce. Direi che questa è la legge del mercato, ma non è questo che intendevo io dire prima. Cioè, dico che bisogna partire dai cittadini, cioè sono le persone che devono rendersi conto che se vogliono trasferire la loro, diciamo, la capacità di vivere una vita positiva ai loro figli, devono modificare il loro modo di vivere e insegnare ai figli a modificare il proprio, cioè assumerne uno modificato, ok? Questo è il messaggio mio personale, non è un messaggio aziendale. Non credo che il semplice fatto che passiamo, anche potessimo passare schioccando le dita, dal petrolio alle energie rinnovabili, questo cambierebbe la situazione del trend che abbiamo di cambiamento climatico, perché probabilmente porterebbe semplicemente a un aumento dell'uso dell'energia e per quanto siano energie rinnovabili, non è così rinnovabile tutto quello che serve per produrle. Ok? Noi stiamo facendo il passaggio per dire arriviamo all'energia rinnovabile, ma poi c'è tutto il problema dei materiali, dell'acqua, eccetera, eccetera, che non è trascurabile, anzi secondo me è prioritario. No? Parliamo di pale eoliche, poi ci sono i cimiteri di pale eoliche che sono fatti in vetroresina e ad oggi non ci sono tecnologie per riutilizzare la vetroresina. Si fanno cataste di vetroresina. Per quanto?
Grazie, ingegnere. Shortly, he said that today, of course, there is a market of these cruise holidays. I'm not an expert this, so maybe I'm going to use wrong words. So there is a market of cruising, and this is the reason why today we are building these ships. He mentioned at the beginning that he's speaking personally, not from the company. And he said that anyway, we need to compare different holidays. For example, if I want to go in another part of the world with a flight and then being in a village, in a touristic village, there are studies that show that there is a much bigger impact with respect to the one that they have in cruises. Anyway, he said that the problem is that many people want to have a holiday in the other part of the world, you know, in the other side of the world. And he said that maybe in the future this will change because we need to save energy, we need to be more aware of what energy is, about our behavior and so on. So this was, in summary, what he said. So maybe in the future we won't build anymore these ships because we will live in a different society. And so also probably these companies who are building these ships will just change their business. That's it. Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other question from the audience?
Maybe I can just very quickly comment on the previous question.
Yeah, thank you.
So I fully agree that like cultural transformation is very important. I mean, how we consume things, how we approach on the individual level and on the level of the companies, how we approach the resources. That's definitely, I fully agree. However, this covers the part of the society. So for example, people who can take cruises, I think there the effect of influencers, of applied philosophers, of humanitarians, it is vital. So essentially we can make this unfashionable. So we can deliver this message to the people and say, okay, to create social pressure, saying that, okay, maybe you shouldn't drive the car with 6-liter volume of the engine. Maybe you should not go for a cruise and things like that. I think this is totally possible. The other part, which is not so small, is of course the people who don't have access of this kind of goods. So I'll give you one example, that in some countries where, for example, the bins for the garbage has to be bought by a person. So you have to buy your own garbage bin. And there are essentially some districts where people don't recycle just because they don't consider spending money on buying 5 or 6 different garbage bins. So there is a part of the society for which it will always be about the economical cost because they are on the side where this is important. So I think this is 2 big blocks. So we have society all over the world which is very non-homogeneous, therefore we don't have a single approach. So for those who has some excess, cultural one and social is very important, but for another one it has to be all about the economics.
Thank you very much, Professor Grauzu. So, no? Any other question? Okay. So I really would like to thank you both, and also the audience for being here today, and also people from home. This evening was really stimulating for me, especially, and I hope also for you. So I wish you a good evening, and see you in the next event of this Transform for Europe project. Thank you very much.